Good morning, everybody. This is Van Hargis with Van Hargis Horsemanship. And of course, we're about to head over to the ranch. So please join me on the ranch road as we head over there. We'll talk a little bit about, well, today, good Thursday morning, I guess we'll talk about something that's kind of almost always on my mind. I mean, I truly feel blessed to be able to do what I do for a living. And I'll go over this at another time, and you guys maybe heard it on the podcast, Ride Every Stride, or you may have heard me speak at one of the events, and I try to pay tribute to what I would call my spiritual gift and what kind of got me to do what I do today. But there's no way that I could do what I do today if it weren't for people like yourselves, if it weren't for clients who had a lot of trust and faith in me when I was a lot younger. Let's say a lot younger, but also other influences. I mean, I was very blessed as a child because we were involved in the horse industry. My stepfather was a part-time horse trainer and a full-time school teacher, but that part-time horse trainer part took us a lot of different places, and I'm going to say this with all due respect, but he may not have been the best horseman in the world, but we did go to a lot of horse shows. I did get an opportunity to meet a lot of different horse trainers at a really young age and get exposed to a lot of people who were icons of the industry back in that day and time. And as a result of that, my curiosity would get the best of me. I'd watch them and I'd study them, and I'd start going home and I'd try to emulate them. Even if I didn't know what the heck they were doing, I would emulate what I saw them do, and I'd kind of pretend like if I'd gone to a cutting or whatever that weekend, I was watching the cutting horse guys, and you know, I was one of those guys too. I'd go watch a little bit of the cutting, but I was mainly out back watching the trainers and the warm-up pens. Back then, you didn't have a barn full of lopers. I mean, most of the time those guys were kind of warming up and working their own colts. It's not that they didn't have lopers and they didn't have assistants. It's just not nearly as common as it is today, you see. So you'd go out back and you'd actually watch the trainers kind of school on those horses a little bit prior to taking them in and competing on them. So I was out back watching those guys. I was in the warm-up area watching those guys and studying. And again, even though I didn't know what I was looking at, I was still studying. I was watching. And I'd go home and I'd pretend. So I'd pretend I was getting a cutter ready for a competition. Or if we'd gone to a horse show or a reining, then I'd go home and I would do what I saw the reining guys do. Over the years, that began to start coming together. Like little, something would happen. I'd go, oh, that's why he did that. That's why, you know, such and such did whatever he did. So what I want to do today is I just want to pay tribute to those guys. There's a few of them too that were very, very gracious to share with me their knowledge if I would ask them a question. And almost always I was curious enough to ask somebody a question. Over the years, it's like more and more of that rubbed off. And honestly, if it hadn't been for those gentlemen and for their generosity of their information, they're satisfying my curiosities. If it weren't for those guys, I couldn't do what I do today. Even if they didn't realize they were providing me with a tremendous amount of wealth of knowledge, they did. Even if they didn't realize it. Even today, I use part of what those guys have shared with me with my listeners, with my students here at our intern program. I will frequently refer to, look, you may not understand what I'm talking about right now. I just want to plant a seed. And it's amazing how many times that seed is planted, that just experience alone will cultivate that seed if you have a really good and positive attitude toward that. You just have to have trust and faith that there's a rhyme to the reason. You have to have trust and faith that the outcome is going to be really good. So just every opportunity you get, say thank you to those folks that kind of paved the way before you, and give tribute to those folks. You can't grow on your horsemanship or your humanship journey without an attitude of gratefulness and appreciation. And I can't begin to tell you how grateful I am to some of the trainers, some well known and some not so well known. I am going to give tribute to one guy by name today specifically. He was a gentleman that knew my family very well. He knew the hardships that we were going through. He knew how hard my stepfather was on my mom and me. And he nurtured me to a certain degree. He was a great teacher and a phenomenal horseman, and not such a great teacher as a verbal communicator, but he was a great teacher, and he would take the time to show me things and demonstrate to me things. And most importantly, not yell and cuss and fuss at me, which I needed a lot at that time. You know, I needed that. And his name was Mr. Leighton Ely. He was from Emory, Texas. And Leighton passed away, some time ago, not too awful long ago, but some time ago. And still to this day, I think of Leighton almost on a daily basis. Whenever I feel something just feel really good with a horse, if I ask a horse to stop and everything just kind of melts, and I can, from time to time, give myself a pat on the back, says, man, that was good, man, you didn't get in that horse's way. I think of Leighton, because one of the things that I learned from Leighton more than anything was to get out of the horse's way. You set them up to be successful, and you get out of their way. So Leighton Ely, I know you're in heaven, brother, looking down on us, and you're probably riding some pretty dadgum nice horses. I just want to tell you how much we appreciate it. And thank you for planting those seeds in my mind so that I could share them with other people. Thank you, Leighton. Appreciate that. And thank you guys. Thank y'all for riding with me each day on the ranch road. And we look forward to bringing you more and more of these little tips and little tidbits. Until next time, this is Van Hargis with Van Hargis Horsemanship. And again, the ranch road.